The town of Matsukawa had always been wary of the sea. It provided for them, but it also took. Fishermen vanished without a trace, boats overturned in calm waters, and bodies sometimes washed ashore, drained of blood, their skin an eerie shade of pale. The elders spoke of the Nure Onna, a spirit of the waves, a woman with the body of a serpent who lured the unsuspecting to their doom. Kaito never believed the stories. He was young, brash and restless, dreaming of a life beyond the quiet fishing village. His father, a stern and superstitious man, warned him never to fish at night. The sea changes after dark, he would say. It does not belong to men anymore. But Kaito was stubborn. He wanted more than the meager life Matsukawa could offer. One evening, when the sky burned orange with the setting sun, Kaito made his decision. He would prove that the old stories were nothing but foolish tales. He took his small boat and rowed out beyond the cove, past the rocky cliffs where the water turned deep and black. The moon rose, casting silver light over the sea. The air was still, unnervingly quiet. Then, the crying began. A soft, pitiful wail, barely audible over the lapping waves. Kaito froze, his grip tightening on the oar. He turned his head toward the sound. There, floating just beyond his boat, was a woman. Her long black hair clung to her face and shoulders, dripping with seawater. Her kimono, soaked and tattered, billowed around her in the gentle current. Cradled in her arms was a bundle wrapped in cloth, from which the muffled crying emanated. Kaito's heart pounded. A survivor? A woman lost at sea? "Miss!" he called, his voice hesitant. "Are you all right?" The woman lifted her head slowly. Her pale lips quivered, and her golden eyes, barely visible beneath the wet strand of hair, locked onto his. "Please," she whispered. "Take my child?" Kaito hesitated. Every instinct told him something was wrong. Her voice was too soft, too strained, as if she was struggling to speak. The crying continued, weak and desperate. She floated closer. The air turned thick, heavy, as if pressing down on him. His boat swayed slightly, though the water was calm. Against his better judgment, he reached out. His fingers brushed the wet cloth. The crying stopped. Then the bundle moved. Kaito barely had time to react before the cloth unraveled, revealing not a child, but a nest of writhing, glistening snakes. They hissed, their fanged mouths stretching open impossibly wide. He yanked his hand back with a gasp, his pulse hammering. The woman's head snapped up fully now, her wet hair parting to reveal her full face. Her mouth, once small and trembling, stretched unnaturally wide, filled with rows of jagged teeth. A cold, heavy weight coiled around his ankle. Kaito looked down in horror. Rising from beneath the boat was a massive serpent's tail, thick and glistening like wet stone, wrapping around his leg with a vice-like grip. The Nure Onna was no drowning woman. She was something else, something ancient and hungry. Panic surged through him as he grabbed his oar and struck at the coils binding him. The wood splintered against the creature's scales, doing nothing. The Nure Onna let out a slow, gurgling laugh. "You took the child," she murmured, her voice now deep, distorted. "Now, the sea takes you." With a single violent pull, she yanked him from the boat. Kaito hit the water hard, his scream swallowed by the ocean. The cold was unbearable, like knives piercing his skin. He thrashed, trying to break free, but the grip around his leg tightened. He was pulled deeper, the light above him shrinking. The last thing he saw before the darkness consumed him was her face, watching, unblinking, as he sank into the abyss. For days, the villagers searched for Kaito. They found his boat drifting near the shore, his fishing gear untouched. But there was no sign of him. And on misty nights, when the wind carried the scent of the sea through the village, fishermen swore they could hear the sound of crying. A baby's wail, soft, pitiful, calling from the waves.